Hello and welcome once again. We are looking at our second lesson involving the ongoing saga between Alton and Keisha, and of course, Keisha's mom, Helen, who is responsible for paying the compensation to Alton. In this scenario, we are told that Helen is earning 12% commission on sales. She wants to settle this matter. Unfortunately, she may not have been able to make that payment within that 10-day window. You remember in the last scenario, Judge Stern gave her a 10-day window in which to make the payment. She was not able to do so, and therefore both attorneys on both sides have started some settlement talks, and certain proposals have been made. Alton is saying, okay, I'm willing to give you a 6% discount on what you owe me. And Helen is again proposing to pay by a stipulated time, 18 weeks. So the question now remains, if Helen earns 12% commission on sales, how much in sales must Helen make to repay Alton? Now, I said earlier that this story continues. So in the original, let's say discussion, the first discussion, in the very first video, we came up with the amount that Helen owed Alton, and that total was $21,563.10. Now we have to look at the amount that Helen owed, not taking into account that 5% discount, because that 5% discount was only allowed if she would have paid within that 10-day window, which she did not. So that is what we are looking at as the amount owed initially. Now, we are told that Helen earns 12% commission on sales. So let's turn to our expert witness, Jerry, and let's see how he proposes to solve this problem. So let's turn it over to Jerry's working. Let's look at it. What do we know? What do we know? What do we know? We know that Alton is proposing to accept not necessarily the full amount. That's what we know. So remember, Alton is willing to give 6% discount. So let's calculate that first. 6% discount right here. Take 6% of the total, and that is 1,293, and then we can subtract that figure from the 21,563.10, and this is the new amount that is being put on the table. Remember, I showed you an alternative way of working this. If 6% is being set aside as a discount, then Helen is responsible for 94%, which is 94 over 100 multiplied by the initial amount, which is 21,563.10. And that will work out to be $20,269.31. Let's double check that. 94 divided by 100 multiplied by 21,563.10. So we agree with Jerry, our expert, $20,269.31. Notice again the rounding that we spoke about before. If you are rounding to 2 decimal places, you must look at the third digit after the 1. Sorry, the third digit, yes, which is after the 1, and that digit is less than 5, so this remains as 0.31. If it were 5 or more, then that 1 would have increased by 1, taking it to 0.32. Now, what else do we need to figure out? The amount Helen needs to pay. How much in sales must Helen make to repay that amount? Now, that is interesting. Let's do this calculation as shown here by our expert witness. This is our step 2. calculate, and I'm looking at the left, step 2. %12 commission. So let's say you have the total amount of sales Helen must make represented as S, right? Just a shortened way of writing. And Jerry saying that whatever that figure is, and you take 12% of it, whatever that figure is, and you take 12% of it, this is the amount that you need to pay Alton, $20,000 to 69.31. Now, if we simplify this, this becomes 0.12 multiplied by S equals to 20,000 to 69.31. And there's a rule in math that if we want to solve for S, we can divide both sides by 0.12. Remember, we are trying to maintain balance and equality. So if we divide by 0.12 on this side, we must also divide it by 0.12 on the right-hand side of the equation as well. So the value for S, so we are seeing here very early how to solve an equation. The value for S will be 20,269.31 divided by 0.12, which is what Jerry is saying here. And, oh, that's a lot. Sales in terms of Helen's work, she must, if you want to use the term conduct, sales totaling $168,910.92. So that is your answer for that part of the problem. Now, let us turn our attention, keeping in mind all the information we just calculated, let us turn our attention now to the other part of the question, which I wrote below here now. If Helen earns a weekly wage of $1,700, how much should she pay weekly? So this is just a different scenario. If she is now committed to putting aside a certain amount of money every week from that particular job that she's doing, which pays her $1,700 a week, let's see how much that amount should be. Now, we determined in the previous example or the previous part that she is owing $20,269.31 to Alton. We already worked that out right here. Now, she is proposing, remember, a settlement involves one party putting a proposal and the other side also making certain suggestions. And she is proposing that she can pay off this amount in 18 weeks. So therefore, if you want to determine her weekly payment, you must take the total amount that she has to pay and you're dividing it by the number of weeks that she said she will make those payments in, which is 18, giving us a total of $1,126.07 weekly. So that is your answer to the question being asked. So once again, I just want to thank our expert witness. In this case, we have, and I want to talk to you about this, your AI instructor. A lot of people have the AI available, and that's why I put that there. I don't want you to see AI as an enemy in this. I want you to use AI when you work the problem. Get AI to give you a second opinion and compare your answers and see if what you wrote down and what AI says, if you have some kind of consensus. It is not always that AI may be 100% correct, as you know, but it is a very useful tool in terms of increasing your understanding and building your confidence. Now, of course, you know the don'ts of AI. AI should not be used as the author of your work. In other words, you should not allow AI to solve the problem for you and then you attempt to pass that off as your own. Remember, the objective of the student math court is to ensure that you understand math in a very practical way. And we are using all the tools at our disposal to ensure that we improve that understanding of math. And AI is a very, very powerful tool to assist in this way. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you again at the next Student Math Code session. Bye for now.